Hey guys, let's talk about The Tin Star. This is a fantastic Western from the 1950s, which is an era of many exceptional Westerns. It's directed by the great Anthony Mann. It's got Henry Fonda, we've got Anthony Perkins, a few years before Psycho, and it really just works on every single level. It's a movie that you can study. Film students should probably study this because it's that good. You know, I know this movie. I've seen this movie before. When I first started to venture out, you know, I guess it's been decades ago when I first started to realize what a fan of the Western format I was. You know, I like the good, the bad, the ugly, but what else is out there? Let me start to explore beyond the usual suspects and start to dip into the stuff that not a lot of people were talking about. I saw this. I liked it, but watching it now, decades later, having seen hundreds of Westerns, hundreds of other Westerns, having watched thousands of movies, now this hits me in a way that it never did before. This is pretty much a perfect movie. And look, I know I'm reviewing this and this is ostensibly a product review because it's the new Arrow Blu-ray, but I don't want to set expectations too high for you. Be like, it's a perfect, well, he said it's a perfect movie, but really, what I want from a movie now, it's here in spades. So let me give you a brief overview. Henry Fonda is a bounty hunter. He rides into town with his bounty, slung over his horse. He's going to collect. Town doesn't want him there. We don't take kind. We don't want your kind here. Get on out. So Tony Perkins is the young new town sheriff. He's inherited the role. He's taken up the mantle because the old sheriff got killed. And he doesn't know anything about being a sheriff. He doesn't know anything about anything. He's young. He's inexperienced. So we've got a grizzled old cynical guy who's seen it all. And I'm not going to tell you what he's been through, or like even there's a little bit of twist. There's a lot of character development that comes through the course of the movie. I'm not going to spoil that for you. Grizzled old veteran guy who's seen and done it all, and doesn't believe in the system, and doesn't believe in people, and the naive, inexperienced young guy, and they have things to teach each other, and it is beautiful. And it doesn't feel canned. It doesn't feel saccharine or like sweet. It just feels like life. Like, well, yeah, these two have things that they can teach each other. And so Lee Van Cleef is in the movie. He plays a bad guy because he plays a lot of bad guys because he's got that, you know, the nose and the face. He's like, he was born to play bad guys. The reason he's in a lot of those spaghetti westerns, Lee Van Cleef in the 1960s and in the 70s too, is because the Italians loved him in his Hollywood western work, like The Tin Star. You know, he goes back to The Lone Ranger. I've been watching The Lone Ranger again. He's in multiple episodes of that series. Lee Van Cleef, so good. So good at doing what he did. Oh, Betsy Palmer is in this as well. Betsy Palmer is the, a lot of you guys know her from Friday the 13th. Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom. His name was Jason, and today is his birthday. Well, this was 1957. This was years before Friday the 13th, and she's young, and she's beautiful, and she has stuff to do, which is not something that every female actor in a Western gets. Because listen, a lot of these Western roles, you know, I'm studying these things now. I'm going back to Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and going all the way through. A lot of these traditional Westerns from America, the role of the woman was to wring her hands at the window or to get captured and be a damsel in distress. We gotta go save her. When you see a role for a woman that has more than that, it's a good thing, and she's got stuff to do here. I hope that on the convention circuit, that all the people that would ask her about, you know, what was it like to be on the set of Friday the 13th? I hope that people asked her, what was it like to work with Anthony Mann? And what was it like to work with Henry Fonda? How was Anthony Perkins, you know, and 3 years before working with Hitchcock? You know, I would love to know that. I hope that happened. But really, it's an exceptional movie. It's also a study in economy because it's a fairly small movie. It's shot in black and white. It's VistaVision, you know, it's widescreen because they are competing with television after all. 1957, you got Gunsmoke on the air. Heck, you guys, there's so many Westerns on television in 1957. They got to compete with that. The theatrical film has to compete with television now. So throw it up in widescreen and cast some legends, and Henry Fonda is a legend. And really give people a reason to go out to the theater. But still, it's a small movie. It's small in scope. It feels small in budget. It's relatively self-contained. There's a a town set. There's a house. There's a cave. But it's a small. It doesn't feel. It's not epic. It's a character piece, and that's what Anthony Mann really excelled at, psychological drama. I mean, why are the 1950s such a heyday, such a landmark era for the Western? And it's because of World War II. And I know I say this all the time, but hey, maybe some of you guys are hearing this for the first time. You look at the Westerns, you can find great Westerns from any era, including now. But the 1950s, you've got all these men who went to war and lived. They were men of action. They lived it. Now directors, many directors now learn movies from watching movies. They go to film school, they watch movies. That's what ends up in their art, right? Tarantino, Kevin Smith, all the people that are making movies, they love movies, and so that informs their movies. These guys saw combat. They fought Hitler, They were on the front lines and risking their lives, and then they see things and they do things. Even the screenwriters and the directors, and it all ends up in the art. It all ends up on the screen, and that's why the 1950s Westerns, that's why the noir films of the 1950s are so incredible, because there's this level of nuance that isn't there in other things. It's the struggle with the darkness within, right? We've got a guy that has given up on humanity, and then we've got the guy who is just the young soldier, right? He doesn't even know how to hold his guns. When we first meet Tony Perkins in the movie, he's practicing taking his guns out and twirling them because he wants to showcase, I know what I'm doing, but he doesn't know what he's doing. It is just a remarkable study in human nature, built into the fabric of a Western format, directed by one of the great lower budget directors. I say that. Anthony Mann, I love his work in the 40s on the noir films. You guys, T-Men, and really small character-based crime films and different kinds of movies, but tight little crime movies, tight little B movies. And then it evolves in the 50s. And I should mention, all throughout the 50s, Anthony Mann is making Westerns with Jimmy Stewart, with America's sweetheart, the Tom Hanks of his day, with James Stewart. A whole series of Westerns with James Stewart. And I think maybe that's why nobody's talking about the 10 Star, because it kind of comes after all those great Jimmy Stewart Westerns. And then the book ending that, that's all through the 50s. And then at the tail end of the 50s, he makes one with Gary Cooper, Man of the West. We don't talk about these movies very much. The Jimmy Stewart ones get a lot of play, but 10 Star, not so much. But Anthony Mann was so good at this. And then in the latter days of his career, the movies got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then he's doing spectacle, big spectacle movies that I don't connect with. I need the character stuff. So it's perfect. I mean, it really is just about perfect from a screenplay perspective, from an acting perspective, from a theme perspective, from a budgetary perspective. You guys, it's so great. So this is the 10 Star from Arrow Video. This has just been released. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video if you want to order the Blu-ray. There's an Amazon link there. That will help me. There's a link in every video for Amazon. Anything you order through that link does support Serial at Midnight. It's one way that we can sidestep sponsorships and taking ads to, doing ad reads in the middle of a video for like antivirus software or a VPN or something like that. That's one way you can support Serial at Midnight. But I just adore this. I adore this movie, and I've spent a lot of time with it. The commentary here, by the way, Toby Rohn, the guy who loves Westerns so much that he's dedicated a lot of his life to them. Toby Rohn runs 50 Westerns from the 50s, the website, and I've been following him for years. In fact, I need to reach out to Toby and see if I can have him join me for a video, because we both adore the 1950s Westerns. And we love Westerns, but he started work on a book called 50 Westerns from the 50s. This was years ago. And I think what's essentially happened is, because the 50s Western is so prolific and so profound, it's not such an easy task to whittle that down. I mean, you could do 10 volumes at 1,000 pages each on the 50s Western genre. I mean, it really is an endless parade of gifts, of talent. It just goes on and on. But he's great. So he's got a commentary here. We've got an appreciation of the film by Neil Sinyard. We've got it's about a half an hour. We've got to look at the score, behind the score, with Peter Bernstein. I should mention Elmer Bernstein did the score for this movie. You don't get much better than that. We've got reversible art sleeves, and you guys are probably looking at a lot of this in B-roll footage. It's just beautifully, beautifully done. Now look, full disclosure, I don't need all the pack-ins. Like, it's nice to have a slip cover. It's nice to have art cards, like the little mini lobby cards. The movie, man. The movie is the thing that matters, and you see the focus, right? You see the passion that I have for these films, the passion for talking about why I connect with movies, and my hope is that you connect. So why I'm making these videos. I'm not making these videos to sell you on the Arrow Video Blu-ray. I'm making these videos because I want you to watch the 10 Star. I want you to watch Westerns. I want you to watch Westerns from the 1950s. I want to talk about Henry Fonda. I want to talk about Tony Perkins. Oh my goodness, you guys. This movie is so incredible. When it was over, I'm just sitting in my seat buzzing with my jaw on the floor. There are movies that come along and they are so perfect that when you're done, you know you've seen cinema. It's not just entertainment. It enters into a thing where it's cinema. Whatever cinema is, it's the whole thing, right? You know it when you see it. I've seen cinema. That's how I feel about the 10 Star. I just am blown away by it. And I'm so glad. I'm thankful to Arrow Video for bringing it back, because these new home media releases afford the opportunity for more discussion about them. More people are going to watch it. They're going to talk about it because there's a new disc out for it. But really, guys, however you can see it, check out the 10 Star. And let's talk about it in the comments below. If you got any 50s Western recommendations, this is the time. This is the place. Shout them out in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me talking about the 1950s Western, Anthony Mann. Really good stuff. Please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up for this video so that you don't miss. By subscribing, you don't miss any of these reviews. These reviews are timely, they're topical, and I don't want you to miss them because the algorithm didn't feel like serving them up to you. Take charge of what you want to watch by subscribing and being engaged in that. When you log into YouTube, go to your subscribe feed, look at the new stuff that's been posted, so that you can tell. I've heard people say, I didn't even know you made a video about this. It didn't come up in my feed. Fight that. Seek it out. Guys, I appreciate you. Take care. Till next time, I will catch you later.